From Fox Television in Washington, D.C., this is the 10 o'clock news.
Return of the Ice Age. D.C. digs out after an ice storm pelts the area, but Washington's winter woes are not over. A NATO ultimatum. NATO gives notice to the Serbs, either lift the siege of Sarajevo or risk bombing raids. Norway bound. Nancy Kerrigan's trip to Lillehammer for a possible showdown with Tanya Harding makes a Washington pit stop. And adult bliss. We'll show you an X-rated computer network where members tie into high-tech sex.
Good evening, everybody. I'm David Burnett.
And I'm Morris Jones. Commuters once again struggled to navigate over a glaze of ice that covered almost every surface in the Washington area. A heavy layer of ice and rain created chaos on local roads, snapped power lines, and left thousands without electricity. Fox 5's joins us live from Northwest Washington with the latest. Ron?
Thank you, Morris. Unfortunately, we learned just a short while ago that a fatal accident has occurred over in Fairfax County out along the Franconia-Springfield Parkway just about an hour ago. No details on it yet, but one person apparently killed in an accident there, weather-related because of these slick roads, of course. One of the most serious problems facing thousands of people in the Washington metropolitan area tonight is the lack of electricity. If you take a look at these trees right overhead here, you see what the problem is. Ice-covered limbs snapping off, in many cases falling into the power lines. Pepco says about 15,000 of its customers are without power tonight because of limbs like this weighted down with ice. A few hundred homes in Montgomery County, a few hundred in the district, and several thousand in southern Prince George's County. In Annapolis, Baltimore Gas and Electric Company tells us that they have about 30,000 homes without power tonight. They've got 100 crews working around the clock trying to get those situations resolved as quickly as they can. Not much of a welcome home as far as roads today for commuters that fought another horrendous evening out there on our slick roads. But take heart, our report for you tonight includes some advice on how to get through all of this without letting it get you down. The evening rush hour was another treacherous one. Even the big trucks, whose weight is often an advantage in snow and ice, are having trouble. This one jackknifed on the Beltway near Pennsylvania Avenue. It's been almost constant for 24 hours, the feel and sound of freezing rain, often mixed with sleet. It meant commuters had to start the day by scraping ice, carefully maneuvering their way to a major street, and spending the day looking forward to more scraping and the crawl home.
It's the worst I've seen since we moved here in '79. What with the ice, the snow.
Well, it's one of those nights when walking on the sidewalks is actually more hazardous than driving on the streets. We're going to step out here onto Wisconsin Avenue in northwest D.C. You can see that the part of the pavement where the traffic has been heaviest and where the crews have been keeping the roads pretty well treated is basically dry, but it can be deceiving. There are slick spots, especially out there on the highways. We're told the D.C. Department of Public Works says they've got their crews out working all of their 84, what they call key routes, all the major roads and bridges. Virginia Department of Transportation, same story, and they just received a new shipment of salt today, and the same story in Maryland. The crews will be out all night, but don't look for side streets to get treated. If the precipitation starts up again tonight, and we have these, what must surely be near zero temperatures out here, the wind's picked up quite a bit. It's going to be a rough morning rush hour. Morris, we're reporting to you live from Northwest D.C. Back to you.
All right, as the psychologist said, just get in touch with yourself, Ron. The bad weather is forcing several school systems to close tomorrow. In Maryland, Anne Arundel and Washington County public schools will be closed. In Virginia, Loudoun County schools will be closed tomorrow.
And ice is creating the worst maritime traffic problems in 17 years on the Chesapeake Bay and its rivers and creeks. Fox 5's Pat McGrath was aboard a Coast Guard cutter today as it struggled to fight the power of the ice.
There hasn't been ice like this on the Chesapeake Bay since the bitter winter of 1977. 2 weeks ago, ice choked the northern bay and all the rivers and creeks below the Bay Bridge. Big slabs of ice flowed down the shipping channel. And just when the ice was starting to melt, frigid new temperatures and ice returned with a vengeance. The officers and crew of the Coast Guard cutter Red Birch have worked almost non-stop the past month. The 157-foot icebreaker has kept maritime traffic channels flowing and escorted barges hauling critical oil deliveries. But its biggest challenge has been restoring the bay's buoys and navigational markers. Powerful slabs of ice are picking up buoys and moving them like lily pads. The Red Birch's onboard computer discovered the Seven Rivers lighted buoy number 15 was not where it belonged.
So right now it's saying 75 yards off.
So the Red Birch's big crane hauled the buoy out of the water to put it back. A buoy weighing almost 7,000 pounds and attached by a huge chain to a 2-ton concrete slab on the river bottom. That ice could move it 75 yards is testimony to its merciless power.
If the buoy gets picked up by the ice and moved, it might be marking water where a ship could run aground. If they go ahead and take it like they normally would, leave it on their port side or starboard side, and all of a sudden it's marking 10 feet of water instead of 20, could mean real problems for the boater.
The ice has moved so many bay navigational markers, the Coast Guard warns at least 1 in every 5 are now unreliable. And the Coast Guard warns all except thick-hulled merchant ships to stay out of the bay, because even the Coast Guard is no match for the ice.
It takes a lot longer to respond in the ice. I mean, we can normally make 11 knots, but in the ice we've been down to 2 knots in some of the thick ice.
The Coast Guard says a stretch of 7 days of mild temperatures is needed to get rid of this ice, and the way this winter has been going, that may be a while. From the Chesapeake Bay, Patrick McGrath, Fox News.
Metropolitan area residents are probably saying tonight enough is enough. When will the winter barrage end? Sue Palker's in the Weather Center to tell us if it's going to end or if there's more on the way. Hi, Sue.
David, this is starting to feel like an outtake from the movie Groundhog Day, the same forecast over and over and over. And I have a little bit of good news followed by some bad news tonight. First of all, the winter weather advisory is being taken down for Washington and the metropolitan area tonight. And you can see on radar why. All of the precipitation is now down to our south. The winter weather advisory will be in effect across central Virginia. The bad news is we're very cold. Ron Gardner mentioned it. The wind is now blowing out of the north at 20 miles per hour. The wind chill temperature is 0. So all of that slush and any wet spots are going to be really frozen solid in the morning. It's going to be a rough ride. Temperatures tonight are going to be in the 20s. Washington National already at 27. Baltimore 26 degrees. Richmond is 33 degrees. They dropped 20 degrees in 1 hour. It's 9 degrees in Garrett County. Meanwhile, in southeastern Virginia, it's still 50 degrees. An unbelievable scenario. More bad news, I'm afraid to say. Tomorrow night, it looks like we could see more snow here in the Washington area.
Return you to the court.